All right, so today makes it 8 years that Leah Sharibu was abducted. Now, a lot of us know the story of Leah Sharibu. A lot of us have followed through all through the years, and we have seen, the efforts and maybe not the efforts of past governments, as regards to Leah Sharibu, and that's why we are having this conversation. And today we are looking at 8 years of, Leah Sharibu. We're looking at the rounds of abduction, the continued abductions are going on in different parts of the countries. All right, so 8 years without Leah Sharibu, the realities of abduction in Nigeria. That's what we are looking at on this conversation presently. All right, so yes, this is your Women Radio WFM 91.7, and this is, the 8-year anniversary virtual conversation, abduction anniversary virtual conversation of Leah Sharibu, which we've titled 8 years without Leah Sharibu, the realities of abduction in Nigeria. Now, this is our annual reflective dialogue where we come together to remember, to examine, and to demand accountability regarding the continued captivity of Leah Sharibu. It's been 8 years since Leah was abducted, 8 years of advocacy, 8 years of waiting, 8 years of unresolved questions. Today's conversations goes beyond remembrance. We're examining the broader realities of abduction in Nigeria, the legal implications, the psychological impact on victims and families, the role of advocacy, and what must urgently change to protect our children. All right, so as it is on the conversation, you can do well to join us live on YouTube. We're live on YouTube at WFM 917 on YouTube and and other social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, X at WFM 917. You can also go ahead and be a part of it by dialing 07000 You can also dial 09155 Okay, those are the numbers to get in touch with us. And you can also go ahead and send us WhatsApp messages on 070 So those are the numbers to get in touch with us this afternoon as we look at 8 years without Leah Sharibu, the realities of abductions in Nigeria. So those are that's a topic for that's what we're looking at this afternoon. And of course, we've brought together different voices, to talk about this. We have with us Oluyemi Orija, the Executive Director of Headford Foundation for Justice. And if you check through very well, you're looking for girls advocates, you check online, I'm sure that her name will definitely come up. We see a lot of work that she is doing for girls in different places. Good afternoon, Liam. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. We are glad that you could be able to join us on this conversation today.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me.
All right, great. All right, also with us is Gloria Oluchi Ita. She's a clinical psychologist and the founder of Safe Circle Behavioral Services Limited. Hi, Gloria. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today.
It's good to be here.
Yeah, it's good to have you join us too. All right, so we also have Dr. Gloria Samdi-Poldo. She's the president of Leah Foundation. Hi, Dr. Gloria. Good afternoon. How are you today? Hi, Dr. Gloria, with us? Uh, okay, so hopefully she gets to join us pretty much soon. Let's get to hear from Ambassador Rhoda Jahota. She is a national leader, Christian Association of Nigeria Women Wing, WOMICAN. Good afternoon, Ambassador Rhoda. How are you today?
Good afternoon. Good to be here.
All right, Ambassador Rhoda, please kindly put on your video so we're able to see you.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. All right, so that's the voice of Ambassador Rhoda Jahota, and of
Yes.
course, we are still expecting Dr. Gloria Samdi Poldu, the president of Leah Foundation, to join us shortly on the conversation this afternoon. All right, so these are voices from different, sectors, some, coming together to raise our voices as regards to the abduction of Leah Sharibu. This is 8 years after. All right. So yes, like I said, you can be a part of the program. Join us. We're live on YouTube. You can see all our faces. Drop your comments. We'll definitely get them. Do follow us, on YouTube at WFM 917 and drop your comments, and we will definitely get them. So yeah, this is your Women Radio. Let's head on straight to the conversation as it is with our guest this afternoon. All right, now the story of Leah is not something new to each and every one of us, on this panel. We have followed through since when she was abducted with the rest of the Dapchi school girls, and they were all released. They returned back home, except Leah, who did not come back. Now, this was because she refused to renounce her faith, so that's why she's still there 8 years after. Leah Sharibu is still held captive. Are we going to see her ever come back? We don't know. We put up a video earlier today, from Women Radio, where we could also see, the same thing the mother was crying about, about 6 years ago or 5 years ago when we had that video, when we went directly to Dapchi and spoke to the parents. And you could see the pain in the mother's face. You could see all of the emotions in the parents' face. And that's still the same thing till today. Okay, nothing has really changed. Nothing has changed. Government has come and gone, and nothing has really changed. So I will be starting with you, Ambassador Rhoda. You know, for Leah Sharibu right now, how has a story influenced, women-led advocacy initiatives, especially within your association? Because I mean, you are the national leader for Christian Association of Nigeria Women Wing. So how has the issue of Leah, influenced a lot of the activities that you carry out, as the women leader here? All right, you're muted. Kindly unmute yourself so that we can hear you. Great.
Thank you very much for having me this afternoon. And I am not the leader of Christian women in Nigeria. I'm one of the leaders.
One of the leaders,
I'm
yeah.
the National Assistant Secretary of Women Wing of Christian Association of Nigeria. We have our national chairperson and we have other leaders. The issue of how the story of Leah inspired the women as a whole in Nigeria, especially Women Wing of Christian Association of Nigeria, is that the fact that Leah was abducted 8 years ago and standing for her faith is something very inspiring. She stood for her faith even when they were asked to renounce their faith, and she stood that she preferred to be a Christian girl than to accept the other religion and be freed. And that alone is very inspiring. And also her story has helped us, to train our girls, Christian girls, more on the faith of Christianity, so that they will always stand for their faith at all times, not to give up even in difficult situations. And it has also helped us to create awareness to our girls on the issue of religion freedom. Every girl have the right to her own religion. If you are a Christian, you stick to your religion. Everybody have right to his or her own religion, especially Christian religion, because we are Christians. And we train our girls also to teach them on the issue of the biblical history of religious freedom. If you look at the Hebrew boys in Daniel chapter 1, you see how they refuse to to bow down to a golden image that Nebuchadnezzar set, and is life-threatening. But those boys stood for their faith. They tell the king at that time that we prefer to die serving our own God than another God. That give that king Nebuchadnezzar the sense of religion freedom. And even when they were punished, they stood for their faith. And also Daniel, even when others look at him and see
Mm.
that he was praying all the time because of his own religion, and they reported him, they threw him into the lion dens. He stood for his faith and nothing happened to him. So we are training our children, so especially our girls, so that they can stand for their faith and contend for the Christian faith at all times.
Mm. All right, thank you very much, Dr. Rhoda, for giving us a kind of foundation of what has happened to, a lot of, the stories that we've read, growing up and what is still happening today. This is still obtainable today. So thank you very much. Now, let's head on to hear from Dr. Gloria Samdibudo. Hi, Dr. Gloria. It's good to have you join us.
Good to have you. Good morning or good afternoon to you. I just
Yeah.
lost connections again, but I'm good. I'm glad to be back and seeing everyone.
Great, great. It's good to have you back. All right, now let's head on, directly and hear from, you who has been leading the Leah Foundation. Now, you have been one that's, where anywhere Leah Sharibu is mentioned, your name comes up because we know how far you have gone in terms of, sticking with the parents, calling on the government, advocacy, awareness, all of it. You have been in on it. So, tell us now, for the past 8 years, what are the milestones that we can say maybe we have achieved, or whether we achieved it, I don't know, but what are the milestones, so far in terms of Leah Sharibu for the past 8 years, raising awareness, mobilizing action from one government to another, how has this journey actually been so far?
Yeah, thank you very much. Today actually is a very sad one for the entire family,
Mm,
um, and I'm sure to the entire Christian body. Um, But we do not lose hope because, yes, 8 years, we never expected that by these 8 years, this young child should still be in captivity. But I think we created the Leah Foundation specifically in response to her continued captivity. And
mm,
just because she boldly refused to renounce her Christian faith. So far, yet Leah is still there, but we have had some great milestones in the fact that we have sustained the advocacy and public campaigns, like you mentioned, all the time. We have played a very pivotal role in making sure that the story is kept alive, and we make sure that we are mobilizing, global and local actions all the time. And most especially, even in adding our voice strongly globally concerning the persecutions of Christians in Nigeria. And part of even, the success of ensuring that we have the global lens is one of the achievements that we are very proud to say, at least we have contributed strongly in getting the global attention
mm,
concerning the persecution of Christians using the Leah Sharibu story. And also we have um, continue to make sure that we create initiatives such as prayer, mobilization for women and girls and other persecuted Christians who are still in captivity. Especially like today, we are going to host a very special prayer globally over that. So these are some of the aspects that we have continued to say that look, we will never give up, and they are great milestones. Yes, we a lot of other girls that have been rescued, and we are helping them with education because of what Leah did. We are also empowering them in different forms of empowerment, rescuing them from different forms of, captivity after the captivity of Boko Haram. They
mm,
found themselves being rejected in their communities. We help those women and girls empower them in different forms. So as far as we are concerned, apart from empowerment support and apart from advocacy, prayer, media presence all the time, making sure that we keep this at the front burners, we will not stop. So these are some of the milestones that we will say we have been able to,
And
achieve.
we will continue with this until we see Leah back home and until we see the abductions, calm down.
Absolutely.
Because up to now, we're still having abductions of children, young
Absolutely.
girls too. So, I mean, we'll definitely continue and keep going at it. Now, let's
Yeah.
come
Thank
to you, Oluyemi, Orija. Now, beyond, media coverage, um, what does Leah Sharibu's case reveal, about the protection and the value of the girl child in Nigeria? Because right now, I mean, even the grown-up women safe, it's not like we're safe as it is, let alone a little girl who just wants to go to school, who just wants to have access to education, So, as it is right now, what is our faith when it comes to the protection and the value of the girl child in Nigeria beyond all of the media, coverage that we get to see and hear?
All right. Um, it's a painful one. I say that this story continuously shows the painful reality of the Nigerian, the protection for Nigerian girls and women across the nation.
Mm,
However, it also exposed the gap that exists between legal protection and uh, protection indeed in reality, in practice.
mm,
Because if you look at all of our laws, for example, you have laws in place when we talk about protecting children. We have laws for protecting girls against exploitation, against forced conversion when it comes to religion. You know, but our story shows that even when these laws exist,
mm,
8 years, we still have a Nigerian child in captivity. And while you were introducing this program, you also said government has come and government has gone. And
mm,
regardless, nothing is being done. Like we have not seen Leah after 8 years. This shows the reality of the intention and the seriousness, the urgency that the Nigerian government place on protecting our girls. So it's not enough to have the laws if the laws are not enforced, if the laws are not bringing back girls that are in captivity. And after 8 years, we have also seen, our story have also shown us, I mean, when the issues of Christian persecution was, everywhere late last year, early this year,
mm,
people, even Nigerians didn't believe. You see, we all saw the context. Some people were saying there's nothing like Christian persecution in Nigeria. Even some Nigerians were like, how, where did Trump see that, right? But our story is one story that didn't die. And I give kudos to the lead of Leah Foundation. Thank you so much, Ma, for ensuring that this story is up there, because it was one of the stories we could point out to and say, this is a Nigerian child who is a Christian, who refuses to denounce her faith. And because of that, just because of that, she was left in captivity. So this story has shown us a lot of things that an average Nigerian is not even aware of. It has also shown us that law is not enough if that law is not practiced. So today, being the 8 years commemoration or anniversary of our abduction, is a time to also remind ourselves again and to also call on our government again to see the best possible way for us to ensure that Leah is released from captivity, because we are hopeful. We as
mm.
Christians, particularly, we are hopeful that one day she's going to join us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Oluyemi, for giving us your take on that. The protection and the value of the of the girl child in Nigeria. We're up to date 8 years after, when we think that measures have been put in place, legally, security wise, and all of these different parts, so that our children are safe, our young girls feel safe in the nooks and crannies of Nigeria, in everywhere where we're dealing with insecurity. We get to see that, yes, so in the midst of this, at least the lives and properties of Nigerians, and especially those for young girls, are safe. All right, this is your Women Radio WFM 91.7, and this is us, sadly marking the 8th year abduction anniversary of Leah Sharibu. It is not something that is sweeting us in our body to come and be talking about after 8 years. We're still talking about one particular girl who has not been rescued. And this is for that Chisco girls who have not even, when Chibok will come, we'll still talk about that one because those ones, we still have a good number of them, who are yet to be safe. So, I mean, we still have a long way to go and we'll still keep talking about this. So now let's come to Gloria Oluchi. Oh, we have two Glorias on the panel today. So yeah, let's go to Gloria Oluchi itself. Now, let's talk about the psychological effects, of this. You heard when uh, Gloria Pudu was talking about, taking up these girls, rehabilitating them, making sure that, they have a future, they have a sense of belonging. Let's look at the psychological effects of abduction and prolonged captivity on children and the girl child. What is this all about, and how does this get to affect them in the long run?
Okay. When it comes to, abduction, right? Not even whether it's prolonged or not, just abduction itself can lead to a lot of psychological, implications for the young child, both the child who has been abducted and even the children around the environments that are, that were observers of this thing. First of all, I mean, there's the case of PTSD, which is very common and which is like the automatic effects of this kind of event. So there is the PTSD is post-traumatic stress disorder, which can happen as a result of prolonged, abduction or even being abducted. There's the flashback of how the event happened. Even for the girls that were released, I tell you, there is the flashback, there's the feeling of, anxiety, there's the feeling of, defense. There's this startle reflex. They are always afraid of what's going to happen next, how we sure this is not going to happen again, and all that, which can affect the people affected. Now, for Leah, cases of anxiety and depression, of course, there might be some guilt feeling as well. Blame myself, like, what if I had, what if I had not stood out for what I wanted to? What if I had said something different? Could it have turned out differently and all
Mm.
that? So, even after being released, it's very important that these girls go through the rehabilitation, like you have said, because it can also lead to behavioral changes, lack of trust in
Yeah.
people, social anxiety, and the list is on ending. Then we have the developmental issues that can come up as well. For some people, it could affect them academically as well, because of the whole distraction, lack of concentration, and everything that could be an outshoot of these events. So the list is really is on ending, right? But of course, when issues like this happen, it would affect different child differently, right? So the expression of this will be different. So some children might come off looking as if, oh, everything is okay, I am fine, I am doing
Mm.
okay. It takes a professional to be able to, have a conversation with this person and discover that, even though this person says I'm fine, there are still some areas that, needs to be worked on. There are still some areas that needs to be identified and, rehabilitated as well.
Hmm. All right, thank you very much, Gloria, for taking us through, how this gets to affect them, even when they seem fine, and all that. I remember, was it last year or year before last, when we had a conversation with some of the Chibok girls, and started this, they were sharing some of their experiences with us, and a couple of them would say, "Oh, I just keep to myself." Because
Mm.
now you have a lot of my peers will keep pointing at me, oh, she's the one, she's part of who I kidnapped. So in order not to always be the one that the pointing fingers to, they rather just keep to themselves and not want to socialize and not want to, so it will just take it actually take them speaking with someone to know that this is what they get to face and this is the point they are at present, in their lives. So yeah, that aspect of it. And when we get to talk about rehabilitation and all of that, even in the present abductions that happened, a few months ago on the group of children that were, picked and they were, later released, did they even go through some sort of psychological, screening? Did you make them go through, some test or speak with someone just to make sure that their minds, even if it's in their local dialect, so that just to make sure that at least their minds are good to go and to be brought back in the society, because this is something they are going to live with for so long, so yeah, I get where you're coming from. All right, this is your women radio WFM 91.7, and this is a virtual conversation on the 8th year anniversary of abduction anniversary of Leah Sharibu. All right, and we're looking at the topic 8 years after. 8 years without Leah Sharibu, the realities of abduction in Nigeria. And yes, we have Gloria, who just told us some of the realities when it comes to psychological mind, of all of these victims. All right, so let's come back to you, Ambassador Rhoda. Now, earlier we talked about how women-led, advocacy initiatives, within your organizations have influenced, stories like that of Leah. Now, let's look at what faith-based organizations. So far, since we started hearing about abductions of children, impacts of people, what are faith-based organizations doing to contribute meaningfully, to the protection of children, um, uh, especially young girls, so far since the case of Leah Sharibu? What are faith-based organizations doing? What have you seen them do, in terms of protecting our children in the midst of, the abductions that we face in the country?
Thank you very much for that question. Faith-based organization is really
I would love
doing
to have
its
you put on
best
your
to
video,
see
please.
uh, about the protection of our children all over
Ambassador, are you with me? Can you hear
Nigeria.
me? Hi, Ambassador Rhoda.
Pardon?
Please
Yes?
kindly put on your video so our audience can get to see it.
Okay, okay.
Please. Great.
I said faith-based are really trying their best to see the issue of protecting our children in the whole of Nigeria. The issue of this VAP law,
Hmm.
the Christian Association of Nigeria and also Women Wing, we are doing our best to see that this VAP law concerning the rights of children is being implemented in all the states for protecting our children. And we also intensify our efforts in seeing the release of our children that were abducted. And the faith base is not quiet about it. We pray and we talk to government of the day to see that all our children that are under the custody of
Hmm.
Boko Haram, ISWAP, and all terrorist groups should be released. And because government have all they need to see the release of these children. And sometimes we say, why are they so quiet or mute about it? But the faith base is trying its best to see the need for all our children to be protected, and to also see the dignity of
Yeah.
our children, and also to ensure that no any child is being abused. So
Hmm.
you see in the churches, we try to train the pastors and also the women concerning child abuse and also child education and also child right to education, and even free, because in the VAP law in one of the session, it says that children should have right to free of education if our children are well educated. All this issue of abduction and the race, it will be minimized, because the children would have learned how they will protect themselves, and also other things that they will do to be protected. So the faith base is really trying to regain the dignity of every child and the freedom of every child to be not to be abused in the society. And if you look at the issue of early marriage, like now, Leah Sharibu was
Yeah.
abducted at the age of that is not up to adult age, not 18 years. She was abducted at 14 or 16 years at that time. And uh, that is a critical force on her as a child that has not reached an adult age. And if not because of the education that her parents gave her and the church gave her, she would have given up even from the beginning. But you see that she was resilient and she resisted what was asked her to do, and she stood by her faith because of the education that she have received. It is very, very paramount that we give them education and protect them at every point in time. So the church is really trying its best to educate parents on how to protect their children against physical and emotional and social violence at home, following the VAP law. And we are also working with FIDA and lawyers to ensure that these laws are not just there but should be implemented, not be on paper, but it should be implemented at state and community levels so that people will follow it. And we also advocate to our own community to know that they should monitor all these things to be sure that our children are not violated. So the faith base is really trying concerning the protection of children and following it up. And even those like you are saying about the girls that we are giving their testimony, that they will be pointing at them that see this person that was abducted. We are also trying to see that all those who have gone through one violence or the other not to be discriminated in the church or in the community.
Hmm. That's definitely, a good one. So, hopefully, a lot of faith-based organizations, get to carry this message and cascade it down, because a lot of times you get to find that it's within the same faith-based organization to get to find a lot of segregation. You get to find a lot of people pointing fingers and even telling their children, "Don't go near them, don't go near them." It's not going to come from far. It's always from within. All right, this is your Woodland Radio WFM 91.7. Please to be a part of the program, you can dial 07000 917 917. You can also go ahead and dial 09155 917 917. Do also send us WhatsApp messages or text messages to 070 317 56537 or 08155 917 917. This is a critical, conversation we're having today, the 19th of February, makes it 8 years since the abduction of Leah. And today we're bringing different voices together to come and, let's talk about the realities of abduction in Nigeria. Looking at Leah Sharibu, who has spent 8 years already in abduction. So yeah, this is definitely one that we will, talk about, and we will continue to raise our voices towards. All right, now let's come to you, Dr. Gloria. Um, a lot of times we have seen, or rather, we have seen you engage with government, the media, civil society, and all. So, how do you continue to do this to make sure that the case of Leah does not just go down? Because for us at Women Radio, it's like an everyday thing. In our news, we're counting down, so everything about Leah, we're picking it up and we're always talking about it. But that is us, Women Radio, because it affects us directly. Leah is a girl. Leah is a woman that should be protected. So how do you sustain this, the conversations around Leah Sharibu? How do you keep sustaining it, engaging with government, civil society, and all to make sure that this does not die down?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you very much again. And truly, I really will want to, before I make any statement, appreciate Women Radio very greatly, because Women Radio have been in the forefront in media of ensuring that, like the Leah's case, we always run to you. Even before we run to you, on a daily basis, you do ensure that these issues are kept on the front burner so that they can continue to sustain the pressure. So I really appreciate Women Radio. And going with the government, Leah Foundation, we have so many different strategies that we use to approach in ensuring that we keep engaging with the government, with the media, with the civil society, and every other interested party or stakeholder that it's supposed to be helping, like the security also as well. So it's very important that we have multifaceted, strategies that we use. And some of it for the government is meeting with Ministry of Women Affairs, humanitarian, Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, meeting with the senators, the House of Representatives, meeting with state, governors, and meeting with also, different government officials who we strongly believe to be handling issues that affect women, and especially the rescue of girls who, like Leah Sharibu, are still held in captivity. So we try to ensure that we lobby and then we apply direct pressure where lobby doesn't work. And apart from just doing that locally, internationally, we do the same. As I told you, I'm out of the country, and part of the things that we are doing is to keep ensuring that, look, we are sticking that the public will continue to, ensure that they implement whatever promises they make. So that pressure for us is to continue to ensure that we keep it alive, and we do it through meeting all these different, public government agencies, so, and other stakeholders, and through the media, like I said, kudos to women media. The visibility, we must continue to maintain that so that we are able to ensure that, look, whether it is birthday, whether it is marking an anniversary, whether it is for Leah Sharibu, whether it's for Chibok girls, whether it's for other women who have just recently, we've seen that some were just taken from Kebbi State, 27 of them, apart from the ones that were taken from Kogi and Kwara, So media presence is very important for us to make sure that we cover not just the Christian media, not just the women media, but the mainstream media and also the international media, to just say, look, you must keep the stories going. And the social media, very important for us. We use the social media as well to ensure that we keep saying #free Leah Sharibu. We encourage everybody share that, and we just use her name as representing every other woman. And with the civil society, we continue to build coalitions and partnerships, encourage them. Like today, we ask everybody talk about it, remind the government, wherever you have influence, continue to make sure that you do that. And we just attended International Religious Freedom Summit in the United States, where we have been attending for the past 6 years. And our plight every time we say, this is what is happening. So we'll continue to collaborate with different, organizations just to keep the pressure and to make sure that petitions go out, awareness is not withdrawn, but we keep driving those awareness. And so those are some of the ways that, the Leah Foundation continues to engage the government, civil society, and also the media.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gloria, because I mean, it's not for us to be quiet on it. because the more we keep talking about these things, then other cases too will always be, a front runner, would always get to bring these cases. Now, just while you were talking, I was just imagining now what is going on right now in the minds of Leah's parents. You're one who has had, lots of interface with the parents. So as it is for a day like that, it is for them. We know that a lot of organizations will want to meet with them, want to do this, and then after today, it just goes down. So how do you probably try to protect them, or how do you, have all of this? Because even you yourself, I'm sure that you will probably have lots of mails, especially coming to today, 19th, and then after today, it's like everybody goes quiet, and you're not left with the bigger job to keep pursuing all of them to make sure that this conversation continue. So how do you manage all of this, especially within this period, to keep the sanctity of the parents, intact, because they are the ones right now. And I'm just imagining what the brother could actually be facing and where he is. People looking around and looking at him, oh, now be the Leah, and I'm be the Leah. So it's a lot. It's a lot. How do you manage all of this? Especially for someone who is working with them directly.
Yeah. It's really a very sad situation, but we are very grateful because we as Christians, hope is never lost. Why?
Yeah.
Because we do have a platform or an opportunity where we have peace that surpasses all understanding. Even when you are in situations where you definitely know that it's not palatable, but there is a peace that you receive, which is divine. And that is the only thing keeping them. That's the only thing keeping them safe. And because we put prayer number one, we always encourage them and say, look, the entire world is praying for you. You can feel it. You are a fortunate family that the global society has identified because of the faith of your daughter. And you were instrumental in imputing the faith to her because this was what you gave to her as a gift from you as parents. And so this same hope and this same faith that this young girl professed is the same hope that you must keep holding because you are also representing other families who are in the same situation with you, and how you are able to trust this same God who is keeping your daughter, even though he has not allowed her to be rescued yet, he has his timing. You are also under his care. So that is the way that we encourage them. So the Lord is helping us. And then in any other way that we can support them to ensure that they are empowered, we do that. Donald Sharibu, he has finished secondary school. He is graduating from the university this year by the grace of God. And this is something that we have done to ensure that, look, you will have a voice to also speak for the plight of boys, men, women, and your sister. And so, by the grace of God, that is helping him and he's doing very well. And so many other people that they see that because of what their daughter has done, they have been empowered, they have gotten education, they have, received opportunity to even build their faiths and become strong in Christ. So, this is the hope that is keeping the parents. And it's not easy, quite all right, but then the Lord is helping us in that area. And so we appreciate people like you that continue to give us platforms to, speak and encourage others to also reach out to every other person who is in one dear need or the other.
Ah, well done, well done, Dr. Gloria, because this could be a heavy burden on you. I can imagine you hiding your own pain just to make sure that you give them, a place to find comfort, in the midst of this. And I can only say, well done, and we'll keep doing our best to support you in any way possible. And we're glad that her brother is doing well and excelling. And, who knows, in the nearest future, he might just become an advocate, on all of these issues. And, we would always be here to support him, as Women Radio. So, yeah, well done to Leah Foundation and to you to being the brain behind Leah Foundation. All right, now let's come back to you, Oluyemi. You've heard what Dr. Gloria has said in terms of children being abducted here and there, giving them that particular, platform or space, being an encouragement to them and all of that. So, but with all of these things, we still get to see insecurity happening every day. I mean, Dr. Gloria mentioned, people that have been abducted of recent, even till yesterday night. When you check the newspaper, you see that, oh, okay, a good number of people have been abducted here or killed here and all of that. But in the midst of it, women and girls always find ourselves in the middle of it. Okay, so at the end of the day, we need protection. But even the people that are supposed to protect us, they also need protection. I don't know if you understand where I'm coming from. So how do we then help ourselves in such situations? Are there legal frameworks that exist that get to protect us as women, when we find ourselves in such situations? Because at the end of the day, we are vulnerable to all of these kinds of situations, women and girls. If they don't abduct us, they might, sexually abuse us or molest us in one way or the other. So after all of these things, what legal framework can I hold on to that would protect me, from the aftermath of all of these things, or to even protect me from going through, the heights of insecurities that we have in the country?
All right. Thank you very much for the question. And it's I think it's a very important one. And I always say that Nigeria is a country of many laws. We have enough laws. We have a lot of laws that have been enacted to protect women, to protect children across the nation. Some of them are still at the nationally enacted, and some states has not domesticated them. Some state has also domesticated. For example, even the grand norm of the country, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, is has provided that every Nigerian has the right of dignity and liberty. So no one is expected, or the law is there to protect you against exploitation, against abduction, and all forms of violence, right? And we also have, for the children, we also have the Child's Right Act. The provision of the Child's Right Act is very, very, instrumental in this kind of conversation, because that law provides for the right of children, the right to education, the right to life, the right to, all of the rights that you can think about, the right not to be exploited, not to be abducted, and all of that. So these laws are in place. We have the VAP Act, that's violence. The VAP Act, yeah, that law was also enacted solely for the protection of children and women. So these laws are there. Even Nigeria is also has also signed to a lot of treaties and international conventions to protect children, to protect women across board. So the laws are there. But where we are is, how informed are Nigerians? How are we implementing these laws? In my organization, we are currently running programs for about 2 years now, where we educate women on what to do in cases of violence, sexual violence, abduction, whatever form of violence it is. How do you use the law to protect yourself? How do you report? Who do you report to? Where do you go to? What is expected of them? We have also even gone far by educating law enforcement agents as to how to, treat victims of, or survivors, we call them, but survivors of this violence, to use survivors' approach in dealing with people. Because again, you go to some of the law enforcement agents, and the way you're being treated is even traumatic enough for survivors not to go there. So we do all of this, and we know that we have a lot of non-profit organization, civil society organization, doing one program or the other to educate people as to how to use the law in their for their protection. But I always say that while the laws are there, we as civil society organization also have to hold government accountable in the area of implementation. When issues like these are reported, what is the government doing about it? How are we informing the people? How are we informing as to the procedure, as to I know that when it comes to security, they will say for security reasons we don't want to expose this to the media and all over. But at least people concerned should also be aware, right? So
Yeah.
we the country has a role to play. The legal framework are there, though in recent times we have seen the Kwara children being abducted. So
Mm.
is like the right to, and at some point the government had to close down some schools. So
Yes.
at the end of the day, it's like the right to education is subject to security or territory. It's like some people or some children in some areas of the country cannot have right to education because of the peculiarity of the security in those states, right, or in those cities or towns,
Mm.
villages. So at the end of the day, we also have to promulgate laws that that assures us of security or some form of safe school legal or security framework, that ensure that there are personnel that are trained in the protection of children that are stationed in some of these schools, especially in areas that are prone to securities like this, right? So I think
Mm.
that the government has to be intentional about our children, about our girls particularly across the nation. So we have as things come up, as issues come up, I expect that the government is also thinking, because a law that was promulgated in 2015, like the VAP Act, for example, might probably not put into consideration that some children were going to be abducted at gunpoint,
Mm.
but because law is not static, law is dynamic, and it is meant for the society. So as the society evolves, laws has to be promulgated to fit into the reality of the society at that point. So I'm saying that now it is our reality. It is obvious that in different states of the country, we have
Mhm.
had gunmen, we've had terrorist group go to those schools and abduct children. What law do we have specifically to those kind of situations? So I think that as much as we say the right to liberty, right to dignity, are they enough? Are they
Mm.
tailored, strictly towards issues like this? So I think that the government needs to be awakened, needs to be very prompt to act, and we as civil society organization would not keep quiet,
Yeah.
holding the government accountable, monitoring whatever it is that the government is doing and how they're implementing the laws that are already existed. Thank
Hmm.
you.
All right, thank you so much, Oliemi, for taking us all through that, talking from the point of view of a lawyer, and of course, also calling out the government and what civil society organizations can do. Now, Oliemi Orija is Executive Director of Headfoot Foundation for Justice, and of course, she's also a girl child advocate, and that's why hearing her voice on this conversation is definitely important. This is 1 o'clock on the dot, and this is your Women Radio WFM 91.7. And my name is Rose Yusuf Kaiser. And this is the conversation, we are having for the eighth abduction, anniversary of Leah Sharibu. And today's conversation, we're titling it 8 Years Without Leah Sharibu, the realities of abduction in Nigeria. And we're hearing from each of our panels today, some of the things that they have seen or heard or the experiences they've had, as regards to abduction and what we're doing, to move forward. All right, now I will come to you, Gloria Oluchi-Ita. She's a clinical psychologist and founder of Safe Psychobehavioral Services. Now let's come to you, Gloria. Let's get to hear, how persistent fear, because right now, Leah, Leah's case has put a lot of fear in young girls. I can imagine how many young girls at that point, after that Chibok era, told themselves, "Mommy, Daddy, I'm not going to school again," because of fear. I can just imagine how many. And now, with the state of abductions in different, places in the country, with the school children that, were abducted, I think it was end of last year or so. And then, so imagine the fear that is going around right now. So how does this get to influence a child's ability to trust, to form healthy relationships, to even feel safe enough to say, okay, I want to go to school. First of all, the parents have could say, school, it don't end except we leave this community. And we know that the economic situation now might not permit them to leave that, that particular community where they are. So persistent fear, how does this get to influence the child's ability to trust, to form healthy relationships? And then I'll just merge this one with you. Do we have adequate mental health facilities or services in Nigeria for children who are affected by abduction and insecurity? Because normal, once they release them, they're supposed to go through that process before they are taken back. But all we see is that they bring them to the government house, probably feed them, change them clothing, and then send them back. So, do we have the adequate health services in Nigeria for children who are abducted? Please go ahead.
So for your first question about how persistent fear can affect children, like I said earlier when I was explaining PTSD, that when it comes to PTSD, it doesn't just affect the child that was abducted; it affects everyone around them. One thing about trauma is that trauma is not only experienced when you are the person who was directly affected. Sometimes just by observing or by seeing this happen in the environment can actually affect you as well. And first of all, the first thing that this does for these children is, of course, trust issues. People begin to, this stranger danger. We know stranger danger is a thing, but I think it's going to be heightened for children in that environment, right? And children who have been adopted. There's always going to be this thing about, talking to people you're not familiar with, and all that. Hypervigilance as well. Hypervigilance is, any little thing that seems off or anything that seems unexplained can cause some form of intense fear in that person. Of course, they can also be the attachment issues. Attachment issues has to do with how people connect, how you learn to form relationships, how you learn to interact in the environment with caregivers and all that. Now, being in the environment, most of these children were abducted in school. I would think that school is supposed to be some form of a safe space where environment. So coming into that space and taking these kids and their parents are unable to do anything about it is almost and puts them seeing the world in that with that mindset of, are we safe here? Can we guarantee our safety? What's the assurance that this thing is not going to happen again? I mean, the fact that you have been abducted before doesn't say that you wouldn't be abducted again. And then another question will be, what experiences did these children have when they were abducted? Some of them might have been sexually abused. There might be the sexual abuse that have been affected. Some might be affected by that, maybe physical abuse as well. Starving, beating and all that, which must have affected them as well. And then let's talk about the environment in which they're exposed to. The kind of, maybe some people were killed, we don't know that, or people on guard, which would take a lot of psychological treatment and even helping these children to walk through, helping them to feel safe again, because that's one of the things that is going to be affected, their sense of safety. So trying to get them to be safe, to feel safe, even in the environment they are familiar with, would actually be something that will be focused on. Then for the second question about whether we have enough facilities for this kind of cases, sadly in Nigeria, even though we do have clinical psychologists in Nigeria, right, but compared to the events that are ongoing, compared to the level of abductions that happen per time in a month, in a year in this country, I wouldn't say that we have enough hands. Now, there's also the issue of funding, because, mental health facilities are less funded, even physical health facilities, we're even struggling as a country to even keep them funded and keep them alive. Talk more of the mental health facilities. So we have a lot of we have professionals, but most of these professionals are situated in urban areas. In Nigeria, popular places, Lagos, Abuja, even within the eastern part, I mean, I belong to a psychological body, and I know how many times we get people saying, oh, we need a psychologist in so and so states. Do you know anybody? And you find out that there are a handful you can't even count, because most of the professionals that we have that are practicing are most likely in the urban areas, as if they've not left the country. Because in recent time, I can tell you, in the past 1-2 years, we've had a huge cases of, people that have left the country. And I can tell you for a fact that a lot of clinical psychologists and psychologists we have on ground right now are even still planning to leave, because I mean everybody's looking for greener pastures and all. So sadly, we do not have that. But I think one thing that could help is if we have, I mean, government maybe feels, I don't know, actually invest in this thing, because the truth is, for a psychologist, their comfort zone to say, oh, I want to go to areas like this to help out, it's gonna be a lot. It's gonna cost money as well. So those fundings, and encouraging people, because the truth is, I think it was Olayemi that was saying that even those people that are supposed to protect these children are also afraid, because it doesn't feel like they're safe as well. So there is also this issue. But what I can say also is, if we could train people, to get the platform to actually do train people within the communities. Now, not exactly clinical psychologists, but maybe counselors, maybe people that can volunteer to, learn basic skills, first aid, and all, even though they're not going into the intense cases of, therapy and all. I think it's something that could be helpful. And then when there are severe cases, because I know that cases like this, abduction and all, can also cause some people to have mental health breakdown, especially for children who already have history of this mental health breakdown in the family and all. It can actually be a huge trigger. So we could have people that are trained, that can offer psychological first aid, that can do basic counseling, you know, train teachers in schools in areas like this where issues like this are prone, where they're prone to cases like this. These teachers are trained, they can carry out psychological first aid, basic counseling, build self-esteem for these girls. And then when there are severe cases, they can then be referred to, the professionals, which can also. So it's not something we can leave just to the clinical psychologists and mental health professionals. It's something that, as a community,
Yeah.
we find out a way, even in our churches, our religious houses and all that, we can find a way to, create a system that actually caters for these girls.
Okay. Thank you so much, Gloria, for taking me through that. I like the parts where you mentioned, even within communities, we could train one or two to give basic, attention to all of those adopted, especially to young children, to girls. So if there's a case that, it seems like, oh, this one passed me, then you refer further. But all at the end of the day, it's about putting systems in place, which is something that, at the end of the day, when you check through and through, it's not like we have it. Is it the will to put them, or is it that we can't afford to put them? These are all questions that we really need to sit down and ask ourselves and our leaders too. All right, just as we come to a close in the conversation, I would just like to have, your final words on it. I will start with Ambassador Rhoda. So just give us your final words in, just a message that you would give to young girls in Nigeria about resilience and hope, despite the threats to their freedom and education. What message would you leave for Nigerian children, for Nigerian young girls and young women who have been abducted, and the ones who maybe have families who are in abduction, or who are still in the camp of their abductors? What message would you give to young Nigerians, young girls in Nigeria, about resilience and hope? And you give us your final words with that.
Thank you. My final message for our young girls and children in Nigeria is that they are created for a purpose. So let them not be threatened by any kind of insecurity or anything, but they should stand firm
Hmm.
in their beliefs, because we have freedom of religion. And I want our girls to also know that the word of God say that we should contend for our faith. So the young men and women should contend for their faith, knowing that everybody have right to his own or her own religion, and let them stay safe so that God also will protect them everywhere they are. Let them live the life that will please God in this life.
Hmm. All right, thank you very much, Ambassador Rhoda. So I'll come to you, Oluyemi. Dr. Gloria, you'll just be the last person so that you just wrap everything up for us. So um let us hear from you, Oluyemi, your final words on this, because I mean, knowing how much you deal with girls and knowing fully well, your interactions with the government, the legal system, and all of that. What can we do, in all of this? The government, media, how can we all come together to effectively uphold children's rights and respond swiftly to abductions? Because that one's even another matter on its own, responding swiftly to abductions. So what can we do, as regards that? And give us your final words with that too.
Right. Thank you so much. So I'd say that no one agency can work in silos. The government cannot work alone. We all have to come together, partner together to achieve the goal. The right to education for our girls and for our children is sacrosanct by the law. It is protected. However, in implementing this thing, we as media houses, NGOs, CSOs, the government needs to work together to ensure that these rights are not just on paper, but in reality, we can actually see it. And importantly, like I mentioned the last time, I said that it's important for the government to ensure that, because it's the right of the government or the duty of the government to provide security for all Nigerians, including the girls and the
Mhm.
children. Their right to education should not be subject to where they live. It should not be subject to the security of their area. So the government should ensure at all times that there is security in Nigeria and our children are safe, our girls are safe, and the right to education is protected. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Oluyemi. And let's come to you, Gloria. What practical strategies do you think caregivers, communities can use to support psychological recovery and integration? I mean, you mentioned a few things that we can do. Train, few people in the community who are interested in this to give firsthand, before we get on there. But beyond all of this, how do we get to support recovery and reintegration? And then you give us your final words with that, Gloria.
Okay. Yeah, like I said before, train people, let them get the basic skill of counseling, knowing that people are going through a lot. I mean, and the trauma is everywhere, right? The trauma is not just affecting the people that have been abducted. So I always say that the basic thing that you can do is treat everyone as human, because you never know what the next person might be, battling or dealing with. And I know there's also the part where caregivers should take care of themselves as well, because the truth is issues like this can actually put a strain on the caregiver as well. So taking care of yourself, because you can't give what you don't have. And for those that have been affected, one final word I would have for you is that it's possible to get out of it. It's possible to heal, even though you have been through a traumatic experience. It's actually possible to get out of it. It's possible to build resilience, to be able to thrive regardless of what's going on in our environment. And like Oluyemi says, it's not just the work of one person, it takes a collective. Because if I am trying to build resilience and I don't still see that the security is intact, I don't still feel safe in the environment, then it's just going to be like we're pouring water in basket. So it takes everyone is responsible for making the system a safe place and a place that is good for everyone to live in.
Mm. Thank you very much, Gloria, for your final words on this. So let's come to you, Dr. Gloria. How can we make sure, or rather, what strategies do you think we need to put in place to ensure that no abducted child story is forgotten. How do we go about it? Because for Leah Foundation, it has been sustaining the conversation year in, year out. There's no way that a year will run by that you will not see programs. In fact, I think we get to receive prayers, program prompts from Leah Foundation as regards to Leah Sharibu. So how about for others? What can we keep doing to keep sustaining the momentum on the abductions, to keep sustaining the momentum in the media, on abductions and stories like Leah, are not forgotten easily? And then you give us your final words too on this.
All right, thank you very much. And before I just give us that, let me just convey the appreciation of Leah Sharibu's parents to all the panelists for, adding your voices today and define her situation. So we are grateful. All of you are doing great work, and others that are not on this platform, but all over, that they are, raising her case today. We just want to say thank you. Yeah, what we expect is, this prolonged government inaction, it's horrible. We have been calling on the government, appealing, pressuring, but the inaction or the failure to, rescue women and girls and to bring the insecurity is what is terrible. And we cannot keep quiet as advocates, we cannot keep quiet as humanitarian civil society workers, but keep the pressure. Keep the pressure on the government because it is their responsibility, as our lawyer said, for them to protect us, to ensure that we are safe. So we need to ensure that that pressure is sustained no matter what. Because, fatigue comes in, the global attention fades away because different issues are coming up, stories from other countries are also coming up. So if we do not continue to make sure that we keep, like the Leah's case as a high profile case, it will die off. So media has to continue to sustain, that call, like Women Radio does every day, AIT does every day, other channels, TVC, Arise channels, all of them, almost every time they bring up these issues over and over, also pressuring the government from that angle. So we must continue to sustain that. And then also, for the international community, one thing that we are
Hi, Dr. Dora.
absolutely,
Can you hear
sorry,
me?
can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, so I said for the international community, we want to ask that they should continue to, help with diplomatic and intelligence sharing, especially now that they have, like the United States, through President Donald Trump, has offered to see how they can help the Nigerian government to fight the terrorism that is also going to affect the global community at the long run if they leave it to just the Nigerian government. So we desire that they continue to ensure that these terrorists are eradicated completely and the Nigerian government itself. And the Nigerian government should be sincere. They should take this support, they should take this help, and they should partner with other, countries, because the situation, it seems, is above the Nigerian government. And so they should accept this and ensure that they bring, security to our country. And for the Leah, wherever you are, you still remain in captivity. But just know that your courage, your resilience, and your steadfastness is what has kept us going as Christians in Nigeria. And for these women that you see on this platform, I don't know whether you have access to see them, but in case you do have access to see them, so many other people are like these women speaking about your courage. So keep on being resilient wherever you are, and just know that one day, not with a second that God has ordained, you will regain your freedom, and your parents are waiting for you, and they will embrace you. So thank you so very much for all that have given us the platform today, and that will continue to amplify our voices. Women Radio, thank you. Rose, God bless you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pudu, and well done too for all the work that you do for Leah's parents, her family, and sustaining the conversation all year round, and going places, different places, to make sure that we see an end of this. And it's not even just for Leah; it's for all the abductions that we've had. It's for all of the young girls and the children, so that they feel safe. So, as we conclude on today's virtual conversation on Leah Sharibu, we are reminded that this is not simply about one case. It's about the safety, the dignity, and the future of Nigerian children. 8 years on, the responsibilities remain collective, like we've all agreed here. Well, all of us cannot be working in silos. If it's to be working in silos, Women Radio will not even be talking to Dr. Gloria, would not even come to you, Oluyemi, neither would we go to Ambassador Rhoda or even come to Gloria to have this conversation. So it's a collective advocacy, it's collective in accountability, collective in demanding stronger systems of protection. So we really want to appreciate each and every one of you who have joined us today, especially to our guests, Oluyemi Orija, Gloria Oluchi Ita, Ambassador Rhoda Jahota, and of course, Dr. Gloria Samdepudo of Leah Foundation for all of your valuable contribution to this afternoon. I thank each and every one of you for doing all of this. And for all of you who joined us on YouTube, a very big thank you for joining us on YouTube. Please, let's continue these conversations even beyond here. Let's keep our voices raised on our young girls, on Leah, on the Chibok girls, and all. We at Women Radio, of course, will continue. Every day in our news, and so we they call until we see Leah back home, until we see the rest of the Chibok girls back home, until we see an end to abductions in the country. All right, and where all of us can be safe and have a safe environment to go to school, learn, come back, and become better individuals and make this country a better place. So, thank you once again to each and every one of you. Let's continue to remember Leah. Let's continue to speak about her and other cases, and let's continue to act. My name is Rose Yusuf Kaiser. A very big thank you to the producer of this conversation, Finn Folu Akinremi. A very big thank you to our executive producer, Tom Okewale Shonaya, to our engineers on duty, Hillary, to Benjamin, Michael, and all those in the studio who made sure that this was a success today. I say a very big thank you to each and every one of you. So yeah, we'll continue to raise our voices on this. I urge you all to have a great day ahead and enjoy the weekend. Have Leah in mind. Always pray for her family, and do your bit to see that this case does not just go or die down, because we have so many abductions that has happened, and we can only continue to pray to God that we don't have more, that would happen from the ones we have seen. So yeah, thank you all so much once again. Do all to have a great day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, when I look into your eyes, you're a blessing in disguise. You make me wanna do it.